Well, welcome back, everybody. You know, lights, camera, action. It's Make Our World Your Runway, the weekly show that interviews the most fascinating individuals from the world of modeling, fashion, beauty, business, and even the entertainment industry. And today, we have a very special guest, and we are going to focus on the pageant industry. But as always, I want to thank the sponsors, and we also have a few announcements to tell everyone. And once again, our sponsors are Lasky Architect, Lux Salon, Margaritaville at Sea, 100 Successful Women in Business, the Transmedia Group, Global Trade Chamber, and Vida Designs. So once again, sponsors, thank you so much for making the show every week possible. And we do want to tell everyone, remember to subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can see all the shows from Make Our World Your Runway and Success Stories. And I highly recommend our viewers to tune into Success Stories. This show features the most amazing women in the world of business and community service. From their humble beginnings to successful entrepreneurs, these women will totally inspire you. And get ready for some exciting conferences, speakers, and awards as 100 Successful Women in Business and the Global Trade Chamber are going to come to a city near you. And our next city coming up in November is going to be Miami, Florida at the DoubleTree Hotel. And that is going to be a great show. It's going to be international. We don't only have women from the United States, but women from around the world are going to come in. And you also have a chance to nominate yourself for the 100 Successful Women in Business Award. And that is going to be a gala. So what do we want to do? Let's come together and honor the impactful work of women in business and community service. And also at this event, you're going to have networking, conferences, a business expo, fashion show, a gala, and of course, Make Our World Your Runway is going to be going there live. Now, for all this information, you must visit the website at www.100swb for all the information. Now, these are free events, but please sign up now because I've been to these events. They sell out months ahead. So it is a free event, but if you do want to be a speaker or you also want to be an exhibitor, there's information on that site as well. So once again, the website, www.100swb.com for all the information. And once again, to see this show and Success Stories, remember to subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can see all the shows from this and Success Stories. And now, as I always like to say, lights, camera, action, it's on to our show. Now today I have a very special guest. She's going to tell you about her career and what she's doing, and we're going to do something very special at the end of the show. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we want to welcome Miss International World Brazil, Victoria Lopes. So Victoria, welcome to Make Our World Your Runway.
Thank you so much for having me, Angela. It's more than a pleasure to be here today with you. And I'm very excited to be a part of Make Our World Your Runway and to have this lovely chat with you today.
Absolutely. It's, you know, it's like being in a living room and just chatting about certain things. That's what I tell all my guests, okay? You can open up about anything you want. But anyway, we are very honored that you're going to represent Brazil in the next Miss International World Pageant. But you've had pretty much of a stunning career. I mean, modeling, you teach modeling. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I have been a model since 2017. And from there, that started in Brazil. That started in São Paulo. I was 16 years old. And from there, pretty much up until the pandemic, I was working locally in São Paulo. I had just a pretty much normal modeling career. You do a lot of e-commerces, some commercials here and there. And I did that full time up until the pandemic when, of course, things got a little tough for the industry in general. And that's when I moved from São Paulo to the States.
Wow.
Then coming here, a friend introduced me to her agent from 20 years ago.
Wow.
That happened to be the mother of the owner of Universal Casting here in Miami. So Mariela put me in contact with Carlos, and that's when I started taking acting classes and just perfecting the other side of modeling that comes with the whole, you know, being comfortable in front of the camera and just, you know, embracing the other side of kind of like at the same coin, because being a model, people see that as just a face, but there's the whole personality behind it. There's the whole expression behind it. There's a lot of art and study that goes behind being in front of the cameras as an actress and as, you know, a host, or all of those other things that involve being in the entertainment industry. So I started taking those acting classes, and so now, besides being also an actress, with Universal I have one thing that's called Model Boot Camp, because I've been doing those runways and posing and, you know, just shooting a lot of e-commerces and stuff like that since 2017. We started Model Boot Camp, and this is me at the Universal Casting Studios in Florida, in Miami, and just a whole day of me talking about everything in the industry, everything you gotta know from start to finish.
Yep.
And everything in between when it comes to contracts, exclusivity, tips and tricks for the models that, you know, are just starting or want to move agencies, move countries. And with that, we also have the posing classes and the runway classes at the end. So it's a whole complete day. That's why it's called boot camp, because you're gonna leave there like my intention is to have you leave there with the most knowledge I could ever, you know, try to pass on.
Exactly.
And here we are, having, you know, some things coming up in the film industry in June. It's my first like big movie, and I am still a little, you know, conservative to talk about it. But once it's out, like, I'm so sure you're all gonna know about it.
Exactly.
And so far I had some big work here with Shakira. I had work done with commercials with Messi, with other TV channels like Telemundo that I've worked with. So I've been immensely blessed by everything and everyone that I've met or have encountered here in the US so far. And I'm so excited to take on this new trajectory in the modeling industry still, that is pageants.
Yeah,
because it's something that is completely foreign and new to me, even though I've been in front of the cameras, I've been on the runway, I've been doing everything you can imagine. Now is actually swim week season. It's been swim week for me for the past month.
Yes, yes,
and
it has been.
And now we're getting together here to, you know, discuss a little more about this new journey that I'm so excited to be a part of. It's coming up in the later part of this year.
Yep, it's coming out the end of August, beginning of September. But you mentioned something that is really very important. You know, I studied at the Juilliard Academy of Music, and I was trained in operatic studies, okay, so I was trained in the opera. But I couldn't understand at one point why I had to take dance classes. Okay, and I had to learn tap, I had to learn jazz. But now I realize why they did that, because I had an instructor that said to me, she said, Angela, she said, you've got a fabulous voice. She said, but if you're going to get up on that stage and just stand there and sing, it's not going anywhere. She said, you really got to be an entertainer. I didn't understand it at the time, but today I do understand it, because when you're in front of an audience, you have to feel that audience. You almost have to look out at that audience and say, what are they feeling? Are they looking at me kind of strange? You got to look straight ahead. You got to look to the left, to the right, without anybody knowing where you're looking. So when I took dancing, okay, it made me very fluent. All right, and then I always had a proverbial gift of gab, so they didn't have to send me to the speech class, which was great. But they wrote lines for me, okay, and those lines were kind of canny. All right. And my husband, being in the modeling business himself in New York, he's do yourself a favor. Get the gist of what's going on. Throw those lines out, because it's not you. And he was right. From that point on, I never, okay, anybody wants to write lines for me, I said, forget it. And I don't like teleprompters. Just give me the gist of what you want me to do. I'll walk in the room and say, oh, it's this? Okay. I'll circle the room and say, I know exactly what I'm going to say. Or give me a few names down, and I'll read a few things off a little card. Don't give me anything else, because it's not me, okay? The flow has to come out. And then a couple of years ago, and this was because he's from Ukraine and before the war started, we had a distinct pleasure and Melina will even tell you, of studying with Max from Dancing with the Stars. And talk about learning a craft. Oh my God. And you know, Max is great. He's got a wonderful personality, but when he's in that class, he's all business. And when he walks in and he puts the music on, he actually starts dancing. He'll teach you the steps, but he does that so that you can try to grab that. So you're very right. You have to be well-rounded. You have to learn to be an entertainer, a dancer, a model, a singer. I had to learn everything. And talk about pageantry. Of course, I was signed with the William Morris Agency in New York, which was, now it's ION. That was the biggest agency out there for entertainers, dancers, okay, and people that were in the movie business. And of course, they have so many people. Mm-hmm. So when I competed in the Mrs. Globe organization, okay, Tracy Kemble's amazing. She still owns it today. And she heard me sing, and I tell this to everybody, and I've even told her recently. She did more for my career than the William Morris Agency ever did.
Oh.
And that's going through pageantry. She had me singing in Greece. I sang in Las Vegas. I sang in Atlantic City. And it's all because she put me out there. And she also taught me a few little tricks. And from that point on, back then, my career skyrocketed. And I always tell people, when I got into Phantom of the Opera, when I performed in that, that was the highlight. I couldn't, after that, I said, I couldn't, there was nothing that was going to match that, okay? So, you're right. You got to learn to do everything.
True.
Okay?
True. I feel like one of the things that always kept me from going to pageantry in general, it was because of the fact that I was not well-rounded in all the spheres of the industry. I felt like the pageants were like futile or something like that, but that's because you don't understand. I didn't understand at the time,
right,
that with those events, there's one thing that is really important that it's talked about, and then there's one thing that people really look up to, and that's inspiration.
Exactly.
That's inspiration, that's purpose, that's sharing your journey, that is making other people grow with you, empowering other people, giving them the stage, giving them the voice. And it's not about looks, actually, at the end of the day.
Right. It's not. It's
not.
No.
So after learning that and having that experience with the sweetest people that I've met that have been running for pageants, and they were just people that you looked up to.
Right.
They were
Exactly.
references.
Yes.
So it is much more than just thinking, oh my God, okay, sure, she's a model. Let's go have her in a pageant. Sure, you can be a model. Standing there is not going to win the contest for you.
No. You just said a mouthful. And if Tracy Kemble was sitting here today, she'd say that. And she always said, these girls want an opportunity, so let's give them an opportunity. She says, Angela, whether it's me, whether it's you, she said, it doesn't matter what, you know, we've got to give them this opportunity. And she always says that. And that's why I think for years, I've always looked at her as being my mentor. Because even with me, sometimes I'll see something that other pageants are doing, and I'll actually call her up and I'll say, Tracy, what do you think? She goes, you know what to do. She said, you've been around out there. She said, you know how to handle it. I said, Tracy, that wasn't the answer I was looking for. But that's how she'll push me. She'll say, you'll figure it out. Okay? And I was like, you're right, I will figure it out. But she was right about that, giving an opportunity, because look what she did for me. And when I met her and I was with her for that time frame, I grew. And even though I was a director for her, and then even though I broke away from that system for a while and started my own pageant, she was very proud of that, because she felt that her teachings and the idea of her giving
exactly. It's the whole thing of learning.
Right.
You get that, you learn how to believe in yourself.
Right.
And this is something that, particularly for me, it really hits close to home, because I had friends that they told me, oh, because I've seen you doing this and this, I started doing this and this as well.
Yeah.
I speak 5 languages. I have 2.5 colleges. I dropped out of one halfway.
Nothing wrong with that.
I do have 2.5 colleges, speak 5 languages. I was a professional volleyball player before I started modeling. I have involvement with charity. Like there is a group in my city in Brazil. We used to go to rest homes, orphanages, all of those things, dressed up, caring for the people there, cooking for them, supplying them with food for their houses and whatnot. And it's not a matter of like putting me on stage and being like, look at all of the great things that I've done. Is look at all of the great things that we all can do.
Right,
and
exactly.
Because I've had friends that told me that seeing a part of my journey inspired them to do something.
Right.
This is what actually made me look up to pageantry. It's something that it's really, you're there to shine a light in so many other either lost dreams or unfound like purpose from other people. Because sometimes they might look at you and be like, oh my god, I can also just go and learn Italian.
Yeah.
And now they have a new skill, and they might land a different job, or they move countries now, and it just keep evolving and evolving and evolving.
Right.
And I feel like that's what's about. It's just putting yourself there as a beacon of, not a beacon of hope, but it's a shining light to, you know, the human potential.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And there are so many girls. In fact, people themselves get very misconstrued about pageantry. If you talk to some people, I think today it's got people understand it more. But a lot of people think, oh, these women are just on a runway, they're parading in a bathing suit and an evening gown, that's it. And I said, that's a fallacy. I said, totally wrong. I said, I've had women that have become doctors. I've had women that started their own business. I had Silvana Camargo, who started in the Latin genre, 𝐘𝐚𝐠𝐞𝐬. In fact, she used to be with Telemundo and broke off from there and started her own TV show, 𝐘𝐚𝐠𝐞𝐬. She travels the world now. She's been to Italy. She goes to France. She interviews people all over the place. She interviewed Ricky Martin not too long ago. Yeah. So we'll probably see her at Swim Week. But she's absolutely amazing. Okay. I've had girls that have gone into government. So you'd be surprised where these women go, and it's an opportunity. It opens doors. And I always tell my women, you know, we have 8 main titles that you can win. But if you don't win one of those 8 main titles, it doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. You are a winner just by stepping onto that stage and having a title. You are a winner because
you never know who's looking up to you, and you're like, oh my god, I wish I was brave as her.
Exactly. 2 prime examples. Gal Gadot, who plays Wonder Woman, was in Miss Universe. She made the top 15. She didn't win, but there were producers sitting in the audience says, we want that girl. She became Wonder Woman. Look at her. She's made Death of the Nile, Wonder Woman. Unbelievable where she's gone. There was a girl that was in my pageant, okay, Cheryl Grabelli. And she competed in my pageant, and after she was like 3rd runner-up, she went to compete in another pageant. She didn't win that pageant, but there were the people from the Legs Stockings company sitting in that audience. They used her legs for 2 years on the box.
Oh.
So you'd be surprised what can happen because, again, when you've got judges out there, it's opinionated. I may think somebody is fabulous, but the 2 people sitting next to me saying, you know what? But I may go up to that person and say, hey, you know, I would love to work with you, okay? And I've done that at many. Look, I've gone to music competitions where the judges didn't think I was right for something, walk out and say, oh, you know what? We love you for this. And that happened to me with Phantom of the Opera. I didn't make the Disney World cut, but when I got out of there, a friend of mine says, go around the corner. They're auditioning for understudies. I said, forget it, I'm going home. The day's over. He says, I got a good feeling about this. I went. By the time I got home, they said you were the understudy. And when Sarah Brighton didn't want to do the tour, I got in on the tour, and the rest was history. So you never know.
Absolutely. On the other side of the coin, if you think about it too, in a funny way, it's also a way to break a paradigm that pretty people are shallow. Because when you see at the things that all of these women have built and where they're going in life,
right.
And some people tend to, I'm not saying it's a general rule, but some people tend to get reduced to their looks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also a way to show the world that they can be more than their own face.
Right.
And it's something that happens, especially when I started doing my own stunts, because I fight. So you see me, I'm 6 feet tall, wearing heels, so you're looking up like 6'3", and I'm wearing like a dress, my hair is done. Next thing you know, I'm kicking the door frame.
There you go. There you go. I ain't gonna mess with you.
So it's been like a really nice journey, not only of like self-development and just
Right.
finding all of those other little like windows in my head and like these other little doors, but seeing the people around me that have been either together with me or like starting their own journeys.
Exactly.
Because they saw me doing it.
Right.
So I am so happy that this all is happening.
Ah, no, and
I
we're
am
so proud of you.
thrilled for this opportunity.
Yeah, we're so proud of you, and you do a lot. And you know, I heard it on the news a few weeks ago. They said life is an extended runway. It's what you make of it. Some people think, oh, I'm getting to a certain age, I can't do this in my...
Absolutely.
I look at people, I go, what? I said, age is a number. It's a state of mind. And I've said this on my show before. They have a women's group. It's called Know Your Value. Mika Brzezinski from MSNBC has this group. And every year in Dubai, and you know, Women's Month in March, she goes there and, you know, they give out awards and stuff. They interviewed this 92-year-old woman. Okay? She retired in her 60s. She was a seamstress. Guess what? She came back to be a seamstress. Made $1 million last year. She went back to being a seamstress and made $1 million.
Yeah.
So, but if you're kicking doors and you and Max over here need to make the next gladiator.
Right, I'm so down. I don't use a body double for my stunts.
Oh, you don't need, oh, Max, you better start working out. Okay, that's good to know. But yeah, I mean, you know, again, when I heard this with this woman, I said, hello. I said, you know what? There's hope. 90 years old, went back to being a seamstress and making $1 million.
Right, and actually now.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Just give it a beat for it to close, for it to be cut. That's so. And actually now during swim week, I've been seeing some designers. There's one that I walked basically all her shows since she started in 2021. She started her brand. She was already like 40, and that's when people are already just having like that midlife crisis and just like
Yes.
thinking that nothing, you know, that they're gonna do is gonna progress, or they're not gonna have success in anything because, oh my god, they already wasted their prime years and whatnot. And look at her.
Yeah.
She's out there shining. People love her bikinis now, and she didn't work with anything related to fashion
There you go.
all her whole life.
There you go.
Her whole life.
There was a girl that worked with Al at AutoNation, okay? And while she was there, she was getting her cosmetology license, okay? And what she did, she was in that job just to kind of get money and to support herself. She got a cosmetology license, worked for a salon for a few years, now owns her own salon,
Yeah.
okay? But started out as a salesperson selling cars, okay? And women usually do very well selling cars. I don't know what it is. Women in real estate and selling cars, they do great.
That's
But
right.
now she has her own salon. I'm like, Janet, you got to, because that's how I started. So she evolved and went into something. People, yeah, all of a sudden, people will say, hey, you know what? I think I could be good at this.
True.
Okay. And I keep telling my Al, if you ever see the drawings, he's drawn some designs because he's an artist. I said, Al, you might want to do that. I said, get a seamstress. I says, to make whatever. I said, and you could probably do your own fashion show.
That's absolutely it. It's totally possible. I started reading a book that's called Reality Trend Surfing.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I got from that book is that first of all, your guilt is not going to free you. So like feeling sorry for yourself, it's not going to really take you anywhere,
No,
right?
no.
And sometimes we tend to keep ourselves in the boxes that we made for ourselves. So contradicting yourself, it's really important to moving forward, because sometimes maybe in the past you just say, oh no, I'm never going to be a person in the fashion industry or something like that. You got to contradict yourself in your head, make that that thought completely vanish.
Exactly.
And just be willing to try and to fail and to try again.
Failure makes the success. Oh,
exactly.
Believe me, I've done it a million times. Well, we only have 5 minutes left, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take a little walk over, and we are going to officially now crown Miss Brazil. Okay, so now, I mean, it was official anyway, but I forgot the bottle. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do something very, very special today, and as I did say that in the beginning of the show, we are going to make it official. We are going to give Miss Brazil her crown. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. You know, we always do little jokes and things like that, okay, but today you actually did see a crowning on Make Our World Your Runway. Victoria Lopes, Miss International World Brazil. She's going to be featured in Swim Week, and we're going to come back next week with all the pictures and excitement from Miami Swim Week. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. So as I tell everyone, remember to subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can see this on all the shows, okay, from Make Our World Your Runway. Thank you for tuning in, and of course we'll be back next week with more excitement, so stay tuned, and thank you once again.
Bye, thank you so much.